It's crazy, it's exciting, it's fast, furious.
They're grown men now, it's their choice.
I think so too. They stop when they want to, they can tap out at any time.
It's a bit dangerous, but I think it's exciting as well. Show you your limit.
Pure adrenaline.
I thought it was quite brutal.
Sometimes I think it's wrong going there and like hitting each other's brains, but I don't know, guys like that stuff.
Hurting people. I like a bit brutality. I think it's good sport.
They're talking about cage fighting. Hyper-violent, brutal, medieval and human cockfighting are just some of the words used to describe this sport by its opponents. I've set out to challenge preconceptions of mixed martial arts and understand just what it takes to step into the cage.
All the drunk people, they just want to see blood, just people like trying to kill each other. They know that because they want to see nice techniques, nice submissions, nice knockouts. They just want to see blood. But this is the kind of people who doesn't understand about the sport.
And Ricardo da Silva should know. He trained under the founders of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, earned his black belt and now gets fighters ready for the cage. I stopped by his gym Nova Forca in Epsom. I arrive at a scout hut where classes are held. Far from being greeted by Boy Scouts, I'm confronted by a mixture of fully grown men, one woman and several children, all diving onto the mats and slapping their hand to absorb the impact. The purpose? To learn how to fall properly, or break fall as it's known. Ricardo tells me how he got into martial arts.
Well, I started training martial arts since I was 11. So I started with judo, and then I did a little bit of taekwondo, boxing, kung fu. But I always was involved with sport, and then when I was 18, I got involved with BJJ in Brazil. So they say you have to know BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to be a good fighter in mixed martial arts. In Brazil, it's pretty common, to have the kids doing like capoeira normally.
Capoeira is a traditional Brazilian martial art that encompasses music, games and dance.
I really want to learn something like better because capoeira looks nice and looks cool, but it's not really good for for fights and of course for self-defense as well, because in Brazil in school you get bullied. If you're weak, everybody bullies you, and then that's why normally people practice martial arts, I think, in Brazil as well.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the favourite martial arts used in the cage. Tim Radcliffe fights out of Nova Forca Gym and tells me a bit about the style.
Most people know what judo is. Obviously it's done in a gi. Jiu-jitsu is done in the same way. It starts in the same fashion as judo. If you were doing it competitively, you look for the takedown, but the main art of the sport, it is a sport, is to basically control your opponent on the floor, find dominant positions, and then look for a submission, which is effectively forcing your opponent to give up or tap, which could involve leg locks, arm locks, basically putting pressure on joints, choking them, anything that will basically, without punching and kicking, that involves stopping a fight.
Tim fights at 70 kilograms, which is in the lightweight category. In 2 weeks' time, he'll be stepping into the cage and I'll be there to watch the action. But first, he has to lose a few pounds. Tim tells me how it's all going.
I feel fine, no injuries, training's going to plan. I've just started the kind of weight cut this week, so that's the only thing that is a bit rubbish at the moment. So, cut back on the calories, all the nice food. Yeah, apart from that, psychologically, it's all good.
So how much do you weigh now and how much you got to lose?
I'm walking around now about 76 and a half. I'll probably get to 74, 75 the day before, and then cut the rest in the sauna. I've been doing a lot more of what I kind of consider low impact cardio, running, skipping, that kind of thing, which just adds to the kind of calorie loss. Just change the diet, keep a lot of protein in it, drop the carbs. It's painful, but it's got to be done. A lot of it is about dehydration. It's the final stage of any weight cut, which is the sauna, sweatsuit, that kind of thing. So that weight, 3.5, 4 kilos that I'll try and lose then, that will go back straight on as kind of fluid. And the rest will be piling food back in, all the right food, obviously.
So you cut weight for weigh-in and then put it back on before the fight. How does that work?
The weigh-in will be on the Friday before the fight, so I'll try and weigh in by lunchtime on the Friday, and that gives me all the way through to the evening the following day of just like constant grazing, constantly drinking water, right levels of electrolytes, that kind of thing.
What happens if you don't make weight?
Yeah, I will make weight. I never not made weight, so it's not going to happen this time either.
It's crazy. It's exciting. It's fast. Furious.
They're grown men in those, their choice.
I think so too. They stop when they want to. They can tap out at any times.
It's a bit dangerous, but I think it's exciting as well. Show you your limit.
We'll be hearing from Tim later. The next stop is the British Medical Association. They want cage fighting banned. The BMA's head of ethics and science, Dr. Vivian Natherson, explains why in this statement.
Ultimate fighting can be extremely brutal and has been described as human cockfighting. It can cause traumatic brain injury, joint injuries and fractures. This kind of competition hardly constitutes a sport. The days of gladiator fights are over and we should not be looking to resurrect them. As doctors, we cannot stand by while violent fighting tournaments are allowed to take place. Large amounts of money can be earned by participants, promoters and others linked to ultimate fighting, but no amount of money can compensate for permanent brain damage and premature death. As a civilised society, we should be campaigning to outlaw these activities.
Brighton and Hove Green Party councillor Keith Taylor is a fierce opponent of mixed martial arts.
I think cage fighting is not something that civilisation can be particularly proud of.
Councillor Taylor was instrumental in stopping a cage fighting event at Hove Town Hall.
The event in 2006 was cancelled as a result of people being very concerned about what appears to be extreme violence being used as a public spectacle and as a form of entertainment. I can't see that certainly civic buildings, which are maintained at the taxpayer's expense, should be given over to sort of glorifying violence.
I wanted to know why he was so against the sport.
The idea of just hitting people for fun or for sport, I think is distasteful. We spend our lives confronted and surrounded by violence on the streets in Brighton on a Friday and a Saturday night. There's violence quite widespread. I personally find trying to inflict damage on other people may not be the principal motive, but that's the effect of cage fighting and is something that one should take pleasure in. People's heads are very delicate things and they shouldn't be damaged, and damaging people for entertainment is something I thought we had got rid of when the Romans stopped feeding Christians to the lions.